up, people? Rasati out here in Singapore, and as always, back on it with the Night Owl podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really glad you guys are here and you have a chance to listen to me rant and rave as always, but usually it's practical advice. It's definitely things that I've learned for myself because there was a need somewhere along the line, and I have tried my best to apply what works and discard the rest. And as I go along, I want to share because maybe I'm trying something that you haven't even thought of yet, and maybe that would be the difference between a good life and a great life. So this is the reason I share in the first place, and I really just enjoy doing that. So lately, I've found myself in a little bit of a bind. Money is not as free flowing as it used to be, and it's just a phase. I know that, but even then I still need to feed my family. So I've been trying to think of ways of how to extend the food that's in my kitchen. So this is not your usual, time management, stress management, emotional intelligence post, but it is something that is stress relieving to me because I know how it can be when you're trying really hard to feed a family of five and you have a limited amount of resources and you can't tell them not to stop eating, right? That's not right. So you got to do what you can and extend your food as much as possible. Now, I love that vegetables are fairly cheap here in Singapore, and for the most part, I try to make sure that, me and my family eat very healthy. Not like clean healthy, not like vegan healthy, but pretty healthy because we do have our vitamins from our fruits and vegetables. Now, I'm not always that great, but I do try to pay attention. And so slim pockets seem to mean better food for me because I tend to cook everything that comes out of my kitchen that instead of buying out, there's no takeout food because obviously you're paying for the convenience of being delivered to or having food ready as soon as you get there. And yeah, I don't have that kind of luxury. So it's funny how much you can do on a slim pocket if you're really willing and able to put your mind to it. So, like I said, vegetables are a great way to extend your food because, yes, you get the nutritional value. Yes, you also get the sources of fiber, and fiber tends to make you feel full for longer. So it's really a great win-win situation for me, at least in my opinion. I love potatoes. I don't know about you, but we all make kulambas and curries and sambals and all kinds of stuff. And the best way to extend food sometimes is to just throw some potatoes in there because they soak up a lot of the flavor. They are a starch, but they're quite filling as well on their own, which is why everyone's obsessed with fries, right? And there are so many different uses for them because they don't have their own specific flavor by themselves. They need to be flavored or at least take up flavor. The same thing, like if you have something that's very salty, the easiest way to reduce the salt, because you can't take it out, right, is to throw some potatoes in there. They will absorb the salt and then it kind of evens out a little bit. So I love that. I really do. What else? I really love one pot meals. It is almost like you have all of your curries or all of your side dishes all together in one pot, which means also that it kind of extends the shelf life, not the shelf life, sorry, the portion size of the food so it actually lasts a little bit longer. So when I do spaghetti and meatballs, that's a big humongous dish all by itself. If I do, let's see, I do meatloaf sometimes, and I add macaroni and cheese to the side, but when you mix them together, that becomes one big one pot dish. I do quesadilla casseroles a lot, which means meat, vegetables, and some pasta sometimes thrown in there, and that becomes a very big dish, and it lasts pretty well actually. So I really, really love the idea of one pot meals because you get to throw pretty much everything in there and extend the portion sizes fairly easily. Now the flavors also, if you use like a slow cooker, oh my God, fantastic flavors that come out of all of the various ingredients that you put in there, and it kind of cooks slowly so that you kind of it's less prep, less cleanup, and it kind of pervades your entire house with the smell of whatever it is that's like slow cooking in the kitchen. So I love that as well. What else? I try really hard to make all of my snacks as well. So when I am feeling ambitious, I like to make things like bagel bites. I don't know if you remember bagel bites were a frozen food that used to be I used to be able to buy them from Sam's Club in the US. And so you get this big box of bagel bites. Of course, they're mini bagels, but I like doing them full size as well, like regular size bagels, which is kind of like a take on pizza. So it's like a quick fix for pizza, but it's very filling and very satisfying. And if you eat one of those like in the middle of the day, let's say like 3 o'clock between lunch and dinner, you tend to have like a lighter dinner. You're not as hungry by the time dinner time rolls around. So that's also really great. I love fruit first thing in the morning because it gets your digestive system working before you actually have your breakfast. So that Hobbit idea of having lemonsies is very, very satisfying to me because that means I eat smaller portions throughout the day more often, and I can actually satiate my hunger lots better. The other thing is also I try to drink lots of water, so it helps me with my digestive system. And for the most part, water is also quite filling. So I don't know if you realize this, but my child has a really bad habit, and I used to have it as a kid as well, but she has a bad habit of drinking her water as she eats, which means she's getting full very fast because her stomach's full of water as well. But The same thing could be done if you are intentionally drinking water. So if let's say you have lunchtime set at 12 o'clock every day, if by 11 o'clock you drink like 2 or 3 cups of water, by the time lunchtime rolls around, yes, you're hungry, but you're not quite as empty stomach, if that makes sense. You've got water in there, so you're able to reduce your portion size because you're already feeling full. Now that's where that mid-afternoon snack would be really handy, because by the time you digest your lunch and already you're going to be hungry again faster than if you were to have a very heavy lunch, and so the mid-afternoon snack would help. So a lot of these things are easy peasy and very affordable and practical to add into your everyday life. I love having eggs on hand. Eggs are very cheap. I love making sure that I have milk, bread, butter, sugar around all the time. Obviously, I love having all-purpose flour and bread flour as well, because all of my cookie recipes have bread flour. It's like a mix of bread flour and all-purpose flour, so that helps with my mid-afternoon snacks that I make around the house, or desserts if I want to reduce the portion size at dinner and then have something sweet to look forward to at the end of the meal. So I usually make a big batch of cookie dough and leave it in the freezer, and then when I'm ready to make cookies, at dinner time, I'll take it out and leave it to sit to room temperature a little bit so I can scoop it out easily, and then just make as many as I need. Normally not more than 8, because it's usually just the two of us eating who eat sweets. The rest of them don't really eat sweets that often. So it's helpful, it's practical, it's easy. Another thing I really love is smoothies for breakfast. I usually use a recipe that is 1 part yogurt, and I usually use Greek yogurt because it's very healthy and satisfying, and also it has less lactose, so I don't get upset stomach as often because I'm lactose intolerant. So Greek yogurt, 1 part juice, any juice that you care to use. Try to use something that's not from a concentrate, obviously, that's less sugar in there, and then whatever frozen fruit. So I used to, once upon a time, go buy frozen fruit, but what's actually more practical and easy on my wallet and actually smarter is to buy fresh fruit and to freeze it, because it freezes all that water content anyway, and then that becomes your ice slushy portion of your smoothie. So I like doing that. It's a little more practical, and I still get all those lovely flavors and beautiful colors that I want to add into my smoothies. So yeah, that's very quickly on a budget how I make sure that my house runs fairly smoothly. Like on the weekends, I'll go buy an extra loaf of bread. Now the bread that I use is not like, top shelf bread. It's everyday loaf, which is about $1.15. But because I have milk, sugar, and eggs on hand all the time, that means I can afford to make French toast whenever I feel like it. And that's more than half a loaf usually when I sit down and do that. So we'll eat for breakfast. We usually have leftovers, and we can eat it for breakfast again the next day because I've kept, enough after the fact, after that first batch we've eaten through. So lovely way to kind of have a luxurious breakfast on a beautifully simple budget, and I feel like I'm living the high life even though I'm not. So there's plenty of ways to kind of extend your meals and to extend your wallet when it comes to food, mostly because I'm using everything that's around me, and I'm putting my skills to the test. I'm trying out new recipes. I am making sure I get up and make the effort. And honestly, it's a great way to bond. Like a lot of times when I'm making French toast or pancakes or crepes, madeleines even, any of those breakfast type pastry things, my daughter normally comes in because she can smell it from the room when she wakes up. And it's a great memory for her later on, because I had those memories when I was growing up every so often when my mom was frying chicken or something. So, this is how we make sure that we leave something behind and give something for them to aspire to and look forward to on an everyday basis. So we might not be able to eat McDonald's every day. We might not be able to have KFC and Long John Silver's and then all of those like fancy dinners that we go out to. But you know what? I feed my family well, and I listen to what they want as far as palate choice, taste wise, any of those things. And I'm open to trying new recipes, but I also make sure I look for budget. So the biggest thing that I try to splurge on is actually the meat. The meat is the most expensive part of my entire grocery shopping list. And usually if I buy like, let's say lamb or a leg of mutton, it'll easily come to about $30 just for that one portion or whatever. But when I slow cook it and make something out of it, it usually lasts for a whole week, maybe a week and a half, even depending on how many other vegetable sides that I have going on or other grains that I choose to use. So it's actually really, really helpful. And that way I know where to splurge and where not to splurge. I usually look for quality ingredients, stuff that doesn't go bad very quickly. And even then, right, I don't buy like a whole grocery shopping list at once. I usually buy what I need for the day, and as things run out, then I buy again. So then I don't run the risk of, freezer burn or stuff rotting in my vegetable drawer while I wait and think of what else I can and use. I used to shy away from canned foods, but I'm realizing that sometimes canned foods aren't that bad. So when I get canned foods, it's stuff like corn or tomatoes that are diced, or maybe beans. Beans are actually helpful to me because then I don't have to sit there and soak anything, which it would be so much cheaper if I bought them, just as the bean itself, and then I soak them later to be able to cook. But if it's already canned, it's like less time on my meal prep and faster time for cooking. And yeah, I pay for the convenience. So where I could get maybe, a kilo for about $1 or so, I get far less than a kilo, obviously, in a can, but for about $1 to $2 each. And that to me is okay to splurge on. I can manage that because eventually the beans come with a source of fiber and they are protein as well. So they keep me full for longer and my family's satisfied. We've eaten something great for dinner. So those are the things I splurge on. The meat. Sometimes I splurge on cheese, and I'm not a big, melty cheese person, but I do love Parmesan. Parmesan has, again, it's a hearted cheese. It's got a lovely natural flavor to it, and then its shelf life is really long. So I also feel like it has less lactose in it, so I can digest it without any problems. Macaroni and cheese, it depends. I like Gouda a lot. Obviously cheddar and mozzarella, they're great cheeses, but I can't always digest them very well. So I try really hard to stay away from things that are going to send me to the bathroom, because that means that my body's actually not absorbing the kinds of nutrients that it could be using. It's actually panicking and discharging everything right away. So I try to pay attention to what my family needs, what we eat, what makes us feel whole, what is good for our stomachs, because yeah, I want that good poop, not the diarrhea or the constipation. I want to make sure that we're healthy, and that's how we know best. So aside from all of that, these are my, off the top of my head, the things that I do to make sure I extend the shelf life of the food that I'm cooking, and then the portion size as well, so I can eat on a budget and still feel like I'm not like skimping anywhere. I'm not like depriving myself of anything flavor wise or luxury wise or whatever. I'm still eating really well, but for a budget, and I feel pretty good about that. So I hope this helped you guys. If you have any questions, comments, drop them in the comments below. In the meantime, I do have cookbooks that are out on my etsy.sg page, so just search Rasath1 and you'll be able to find me there. So yeah, I'll catch you again soon. Bye.